Hello and welcome to Hamer Reviews. My name is Christopher Hamer and today we're going to be reviewing the TomTom GO Discover edition. Now if I asked you what sat-nav you mostly used, I think if you're under the age of 40 you will probably say your mobile phone. Whether it's Google Maps, Apple Maps or any of the other free alternatives, we are more often than not choosing to use our phones over dedicated sat-nav devices. Now that's not to say that there isn't a place for dedicated sat-navs in our lives. When we're driving, they are especially useful. One of the main reasons for this is that they are less of a distraction than a mobile phone is. Now don't get me wrong, you can get distracted by a sat-nav. There is no doubt about it. However, if you're using your mobile phone and you're using an app that still allows you to see various text messages or other notifications, you'll be more likely to glance at it, you'll be more likely to change a setting, you might even grab your phone and take a photograph, things that you really shouldn't be doing. Using a dedicated sat-nav allows you to input the route at the beginning of the journey, and that's pretty much all of the input required. Of course, today's sat-navs have got much smarter. We have map information that's more up to date than you might get on your mobile phone. You have warnings for speed cameras or black spots. You have warnings around weather conditions, and you also have the most important of all, and that is traffic. Now, traffic is something that is often included with, say, Google Maps or Apple Maps, but I'm still consistently finding TomTom's traffic more up to date or more accurate than those alternatives. There is a slight exception for the app Waze, which often does have very up-to-date traffic information, which can even beat some of the best sat-navs. However, as an all-in-one package, I've pretty much been using them for well over 10 years, my entire driving life is essentially, and I still use them today because I haven't found something better. Now, you can obviously also get a sat-nav inside your car. That's happening more often than not. You're even getting like Apple CarPlay integration. So I wonder whether these will die out in the coming years, but in my opinion, they haven't yet. So what is the TomTom GO Discover? Well, it's an interesting one. It's a bit of an update on the TomTom GO Premium. It has 4 times faster processing, according to TomTom. It uses much smaller maps, which I found fascinating. So the map sizes on here are like 1/10 of the size of what they are on my TomTom GO Premium, which is what I have been using on a day-to-day basis. So there's clearly been some changes in compression or the way they save their map data. There's also no more SIM card. So the TomTom GO Discover doesn't have a built-in SIM card and doesn't have it as an option. TomTom GO Premium, which is still being sold, does and will give you free access to TomTom GO services for the lifetime of the device, or around 5 years, which includes access to, say, traffic over that SIM card. Now, you can't get updates for the map over that SIM card, but you do get traffic. Now, the TomTom GO Discover does still offer safety camera warnings, black spot warnings, and traffic warnings, etc. through Bluetooth connected to your phone and using its data. So if you live in a country where you don't have a huge amount of data on your phone, or if you don't have a huge amount of data regardless of where you are, to be fair, then the TomTom GO Discover might be less interesting to you because you will not necessarily have the same level of services as you would have had on the TomTom GO Premium, which can do everything pretty much by itself. So the TomTom GO Discover comes in 3 different sizes. You've got the 5-inch, 6-inch and 7-inch version, and they're priced at £229, £249 and £279 respectively. Now a 7-inch TomTom is huge in my opinion, far too big. I prefer the 6-inch version, I think that's the perfect size. This is my TomTom GO Premium again, and is the 6-inch edition, whereas this is the 5-inch edition of the TomTom GO Discover. So just to give you an idea of the difference in screen size on those 2 devices. They both use, or rather the TomTom GO Discover, all 3 of them, use the standard TomTom Quick Clip, which is a magnetic clip which attaches to your windscreen and is a very secure way of holding it in place. I think actually that clip that they've developed is probably one of the best. The only one that I can think is slightly better is Garmin's, but it's a very quick way of connecting up. It has a micro USB cable to charge, no USB-C, a bit of a shame that, but what can you do? And that USB charger will that comes with the device will also plug into the quick clip, so that the clip, once you clip the sat-nav onto it, doesn't actually have to have a cable fed into the sat-nav, because it's just using the one that's already inside the mount itself, which is a nice addition, to be fair. So I also have a bit of a clip to show you of me driving around from my home to the studio, which also includes a comparison of the TomTom GO app, which I've downloaded onto my phone, TomTom GO Premium and TomTom GO Discover. So that will give you an idea of what it's like. It's just a bit of a clip of basically the three sat-navs doing their jobs. So in order to test out the various TomToms and get a good idea of how TomTom have improved the TomTom GO Discovery versus the Premium in their mobile app, I've devised a test. You're here in my car. I've got the three TomTom set up, so the TomTom GO Discovery, GO Premium, and my phone with the app running, which is an iPhone XS Max. And you're going to join me on my journey from my home to where my studio is. So off we go. Now, immediately you'll notice that all three of the TomToms now are warning me of the speed camera that is just past my road on the main road. So as we pull out there, you can see we've got the speed limit. Now, interestingly, you'll notice it changed to 30 miles an hour, as we're now on a 30-mile-an-hour road. And all three of them are showing me the route. Now, I would argue that of the three, the smoothest in terms of video, in terms of progression, for me is the iPhone, actually. I think we've got the sort of smoothest run. The least smooth is very clearly the TomTom GO Premium. Now, that's not particularly surprising, given the fact that the TomTom GO Discovery is said to have 4 times more processing power than the TomTom GO Discovery. So quite clearly there's, TomTom GO Premium. So quite clearly there's a bit of an improvement that's been made there by TomTom. Now, what we're going to do now is we're not going to take the route it's suggesting. I'm actually going to carry on driving straight to see which is quickest to reroute me. Now, I'm already on the wrong road. The Discovery's worked out, now the Premium, and the app has also worked out. I think the quickest actually was the GO Discovery. So the new software clearly does have some improvements when it comes to telling me when I need to reroute and where I need to go. Now, interestingly, the app is telling me to turn around, which is the wrong thing to do. This is a main road. There's nowhere I can really turn around. But the TomTom GO Discovery and Premium have both worked out a new route where I'm going to take a slight diversion to get to my destination. It's good to see the app is now caught up, but what I'm taking away from this is that the app doesn't have the same level of map information or the same level of processing power, I don't know what it is, in order to quickly tell me what the next action is when I take a wrong turn. Now, when you're driving around in the countryside, that's not necessarily an issue, but if you're driving around a town or a city, especially if it's a large city like London, that's really going to present a problem. I'm glad, though, that all three of them have decided on the same route, otherwise I'm not sure which I would have taken. For what it's worth, knowing the area that we're in, this is the route that I would have taken as well. So in terms of the app, it's much better than it used to be. It's much more usable, to be completely honest with you, and I'd feel more confident whilst I'm using it as well. Of course, that's not to say that it will replace the TomTom GO series sat-navs. I do think there is still a market for them. They get better GPS data a lot of the time in cities than the mobile phones do. They are quicker in terms of planning out a route, and we saw they're also quicker at changing the route when we're moving around as well, and we've taken a wrong turn. Pulled over now. So in terms of using it, as I've already discussed, you can change the actual map zoom level, so you can see more or less of the map depending on what you're doing on the TomTom GO Premium. You can also enter the menu. You could, for instance, have a look at the route you're currently on. You could also change certain elements about that route. So you've got avoiding blocked road, finding an alternative, avoiding parts of the route, etc., etc. So you do have a lot of options when you're actually, in the menu. I can go and choose a new route very easily. I can just input a new route whilst I've got my current one on, and I can even go into all the settings whilst I'm in sat-nav mode. Now, that's not actually an option I have with the TomTom GO Discovery. It's much more locked down. You'll notice the bottom left, we actually have an X rather than the button to go into the menu. Now, what I do have is at the bottom of the actual route guidance here, I can actually click on that, and then I have a mini menu inside. So here I can add a stop, so I could choose a petrol station, I could choose a sort of waypoint, parking, etc. I could find an alternative route, I could show myself the turn-by-turn instructions, avoid a blocked route, part of the route or even change the route type, very similar to the current route menu that we just saw. I also have voice control in case I want to change something per voice, and I have the settings menu. Now the settings menu is the only way to get into that full menu. It's right at the bottom of that other menu in order to get there. So it is a lot more convoluted, and they've clearly done it to make it more difficult for you to use whilst you're driving. I can understand the logic there, but I would say it means that if people are driving and are making the choice to drive unsafely, if they're using the TomTom GO Discovery, there's a much higher likelihood of them not paying attention to what they're doing because you can't click as many of the buttons that they might be used to from the TomTom GO Premium. So one of the things we have lost on the TomTom GO Discovery is the zoom buttons, which I think is a bit of a shame. You can use pinch to zoom, but I find that takes a lot more effort. But it does allow you to see a little bit more of the map, but it's not as easy to do as it is on the Premium. So that's something to be aware of. In terms of the mobile phone app, it is very similar to the TomTom GO Premium, if not identical. So I think that there are a lot of benefits there. Overall though, I think it is fair to say that there are a lot of similarities between the GO Discovery and the GO Premium. It is much quicker when you're using it, but it's not perfect. And I think that TomTom has removed some of the good features whilst adding some other good ones, which is something of a trend for that company. Anyhow, let's go back to the studio and have a discussion about the TomTom GO Discovery in a little bit more detail. Some of the things I don't like of the TomTom GO Discover is the change in menu. So you now have a fixed point in the top left, which shows you what your next turn-by-turn action is. It's not transparent, it takes up a lot of the screen, and especially on this smaller 5-inch model, I found it more difficult to see the map behind it, so that was a bit of a shame. I also found the menus very limiting. They've kind of tried to make it harder for you to use the menu whilst you're moving or whilst it's sort of in navigation mode. In principle, I understand why that's been done. It's not something I liked because it makes it harder to use, because you might want to stop at the destination and change the details. Now you have to cancel the route, start a new route, or you have to go all the way through the menu to get to it. It's just made it a little bit more complex to use in my mind, and I think that's a bad thing because anything that's more complex on a sat-nav is not a good thing. The screens on these devices are fine. They're now looking dated. I can't see a difference in this screen and the TomTom GO 5-inch that I have. I think TomTom needs to think about the quality of components they're using. It's good they're finally using a faster processor, because I'll tell you one thing, this is a 2019 sat-nav and it is as slow as a Nokia N95 or like the original iPhones in terms of processing power. So it's good they've moved that up, but they should have moved the screen up as well. They should have also worked better viewing angles. I still think the viewing angles on all these sat-navs are not great, and this one doesn't really improve that in my mind either. Battery life is good. They work for around an hour when fully charged and not connected to power, which is useful because you can use this on a phone. It has a bike mode, or you can use it to walk around, work out. Obviously, it's not perfect. Now we have our phones. It's a much better solution, but it's nice to have that option. They also have built-in speakerphone modes, so once your phone is connected, you can actually use the mic from this and the speakers from this sat-nav, which are very nice and loud, so you can clearly hear the instructions if that's what you like. So that's a good thing as well. Overall, I think the TomTom GO Discover is an interesting one because they still sell the 2019 TomTom GO Premium, and if you take into account that they're only including traffic and speed camera services for 1 year, and despite me asking them on Twitter, they wouldn't tell me how much it would cost after a year, so I have no idea what the additional cost is going to be. It's not as good of value as the TomTom GO Premiums, because the TomTom GO Discover doesn't include those services. You don't have the built-in SIM card, so you have to have your phone with you, and it has to be connected to data in order to be able to really do its useful things. So is there really that much value in this over the Premium, other than the faster processing power, which is very much appreciated? There's just not enough benefits, in my view, to have this over the Premium version. The Premium version is more expensive. So this is £300, I think, or 350 even. So it is about £50 more. But if you keep this for 3 to 4 years, and I've already had mine for 2, then it's going to pay for itself, because I doubt those TomTom services are going to be that cheap. I would expect them to be between £15 and £45 per year for the traffic and the speed camera warnings, etc. So whether or not this Discover turns out to be a good deal very much is dependent on whether TomTom can keep things updated. Overall, though, it is good if you're considering one and you want faster processing power, you want to be able to input the data faster without having to wait so long between actions. Maybe this is for you, especially if you don't mind connecting it to your phone every time. If, however, you want a sat-nav you can use regularly without your phone, that has data services built in, that has free map updates for life, that has the free traffic data, the free speed camera data, etc., the TomTom GO Premium is probably the one you should be looking at over the Discover. So on that note, yeah, the TomTom GO Discover, an interesting sat-nav, but not necessarily as good as the version it replaces. So I would say it's a partial recommendation from me. There's not much more I can add. If you have any questions, though, pop them in the comment section. I'd be more than happy to reply and see if I can help you out. Equally, if you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, the other button works absolutely fine too. And please do subscribe, as it really does help. Thank you very much for watching, and I do hope I see you next time. Goodbye.